Good evening to the respective panel and my lecturer. So my name is Ivan. So I'm going to talk about today combating human trafficking as a modern form slavery among homeless kids in Malaysia. So the introduction for this topic. Human trafficking as modern form slavery is a silent crisis persist and is it's a hidden shadow of the society, and the exploitation of homeless children through human trafficking. And the issue of human trafficking is a global concern. Its impact and on vulnerable populations, and particularly in homeless children, is a harrowing reality, and also harrowing reality demands urgent attention as well. Within Malaysia's border, and countless children finds themselves entrapped in a web of exploitation, and their innocence stripped away as they become victims of the modern form slavery. Human trafficking is also recognized one of the most grievous violations of human rights, and various forms such as forced labor, sexual exploitation, organ trafficking as well. By amplifying the marginalized of empowering survivors to reclaim their agencies, and also activist humanitarian agencies, also civil society organization, and the grassroots activities with enforcement are pivotal role play in shaping the future of modern form slavery as human trafficking. So moving to the next slide, problem statement. Problem statement in this topic. The first problem statement is the connection between homeless children and trafficking, which complex influenced by the multi-faceted challenges and characteristic by systematic issues of poverty, lack of access to education, and also social services and exploitation of their children's vulnerabilities. Despite these issues, there remains of threat, comprehensive research, especially focusing on the dynamics of human trafficking. Also, the next problem statement is the factor of contributing to the vulnerability, and the next is the development of effective strategies, and also interventions from the enforcement to stop human trafficking. And also, public awareness and education plays a very big role in essential to empower communities to recognize signs of human trafficking. Moving to the next slide. Research objective. My research objective is to explore, the first research objective is to explore community awareness on human trafficking as modern form slavery among homeless kids in Malaysia. The second research objective is to study the factor of human trafficking as modern form slavery among homeless kids, to analyze the enforcement mechanism and challenges by law enforcement agencies in combating human trafficking among homeless kids in Malaysia. Is the last objective of mine. And moving to the next slide, research question. My first research question is, how can we enhance community and awareness about this issue? The second is, what are the factors of this human trafficking among homeless kids in Malaysia? And the last question is, what are the enforcement mechanism and also challenges faced by law enforcement agencies to combat human trafficking as modern form slavery among homeless kids? Moving to the next slide. Scope of this research. So scope of this research, legal framework of Anti-Smuggling of Migrants Act 2007 and Anti-Smuggling of Person, which is called as ETIPSOM Act, and also relevant amendments regarding their effectiveness in protecting homeless youth and prosecuting traffickers. The next is implementation of challenges. What are the challenges before and after COVID-19 faced by the authorities to combat human trafficking? And the next scope of the research is the victim protection. How does assess or the legal provisions for protecting and also supporting the trafficked homeless youth on the shelter, healthcare, legal aid, and also rehabilitation services. Prevention measures. What are the prevention or legal measures targeting the issues on socio-economics, vulnerabilities of the children, and educational campaigns for society for combating this issue? And also international commitments, which is Malaysia's commitments, compliance with the international legal instruments such as the UN protocol to prevent surprises such as punish trafficking and persons, especially women and children as well. Moving to the next slide. The significance of this research in combating human trafficking among homeless youth as modern slavery in Malaysia. First is this research provides crucial insights into prevalence, dynamics, and root causes of human trafficking within the specific demographic. By understanding this root causes, prevalence, and dynamics, unique vulnerabilities faced by homeless youth, policymakers, and law enforcement agencies and non-governmental organizations can tailor their intervention and strategies more effectively to address this issue. Moreover, this research sheds lights on the systematic factors contributing to the exploitation of homeless youth, including economic disparities and lack of social support and institutional barriers, which is essential for advocating for policy changes, systematic reforms, and also aim at structural inequalities that perpetuate trafficking and exploitation. Moving to the next slide. My research methodology is qualitative-based research, doctrinal, library-based, and theory. This three, I have got it from my university's library. And the second is I extract data about my legal research topic from books, articles, statutes, and case studies, which I use such as LexisNexis, Mendeley, and Google Scholar. And I also conducted an interview session with three professionals. The first is Narayana Swamy, who is an ex-police officer in IPD. And the second is Mr. Muhammad Fauzan, who is Bukit Aman D9 spy. And also the last one is Mr. Selva Kumar, who's a legal practitioner in a firm in Kota Damansara. And my literature review. The first topic is human trafficking in Malaysia, the response of the Malaysia government, which is written by Miss Sheila Devi on 2019. She has discussed on the Malaysia's growing problem, which is human trafficking, and emphasized its role as a source, destination, and transit point for victims. And it's also she also discussed security issues post the government's response via the national plan as well. And the second is protection of the rights. The victim and human trafficking, has Malaysia done enough? The writer is Roshida Nordin and Renuka, which is written at 2019. They both has assessed the international standards for protecting human trafficking and Malaysia's legal framework, particularly the Anti-Trafficking in Person and Anti-Smuggling of Migrants Act 2007, Atipsom Act 2007, which emphasize the importance of effective victim protection, proposing enhancement to Malaysian laws to combat human trafficking. The third one is legal challenges in Malaysia in combating child trafficking in Malaysia. Nur Suhada binti Kamarudin Najibah, Modzin, 2022. This this literature has highlighted the enforcement gains and emphasized the importance of alignment domestic laws with international standards for effective to combat this issue. The last literature is literature analysis criminal scenario of forced labor trafficking in Malaysia. This is written by Siti Hajam Islam, Nafiza Ilham Hussein. This literature focuses on forced labors, traffickers, driven by coercion and also particularly through document analysis. This research has stated that how urgency to address this issue. This 4 literature review is most likely same as all the research literature review I have went through to do my research. That is why I have stated this 4 literature review here. So moving on to the next slide, limitation of the research. The first limitation of the research is time constraint, limited time to conducting comprehensive research. The second is availability of interviewees, which I had a very tough time to meet them and schedule the timing, and access to literature, limited availability to relevant literature data and reports on human trafficking, examination constraint, which I had individuals for examination and investigation impacting their ability to gather first-hand data and testimonies was a hard time for me. So moving on to the next slide. The factor of human trafficking as modern from slavery among homeless kids in Malaysia. Vulnerabilities face poverty, lack of family support, and access to the education and healthcare. And also the second is transnational network. Malaysia is a transnational place where is the port to intercept children from here to other countries. Third is lack of awareness and support from the society and families. Support system contribute to their continued exploitation and effective intervention. Cultural and social factors, which also a factor of human trafficking as modern form slavery among homeless kids in Malaysia. Moving to the next slide, chapter 3. Chapter 3 is on community awareness on human trafficking as modern form slavery in Malaysia. There are 4 points, which is the first one is understanding trafficking. Second one is recognizing sign. Third one is support and services. Fourth one is prevent and action. These 4 are very important for the community to understand the trafficking methods and recognizing the signs of how human traffickers or the children react when human traffickers, and what kind of support and services does the government provided for these human trafficking children and human trafficking families, and also a prevention or action that community should take when they see human trafficking is happening in front of them. And moving to the next slide, chapter 4, the enforcement mechanism and challenges faced by law enforcement agencies to combat human trafficking. The first mechanism is legislative framework, which is Anti-PSOM Act, Anti-Person Act, and Anti-Smuggling Migrant Act, which is a very helpful act for combating human trafficking. The second one is investigative techniques, on how they use the investigative techniques to combat human trafficking. The third one is cross-agency collaboration from NGOs, from agencies and the agencies from other countries who came forward to help Malaysians to combat this thing. And victim-centered approach, how the enforcement or NGOs approach the victim to talk about their vulnerabilities and how to overcome the issues. The challenges faced by enforcement is underreporting. The community is not coming forward to report the cases of human trafficking as well. And second one is resource constraint, which the resources they have in the enforcement or NGOs to combat human trafficking is very less as well. Complexity of human trafficking networks, which is the complexity of trafficking networks, has very less. Day to day it changes, which give a tough time for the enforcement to overcome it. Victim and identification and support, which is also hard or challenges that faced by enforcement. Next slide, please. And the finding and analysis. So this are my finding and analysis question. The first question is, what are the main challenges law enforcement faces in these issues? The second question is, how does the department collaborate with other agencies and stakeholders to combat such as NGOs and social to combat these issues? The third question is, how does the department engage with the public to make awareness about human trafficking and endurance reporting of suspicious things? And also, the fourth question is, can they provide insight into the strategies and tactics employed by the children traffickers to exploit homeless children? And the fifth question is, in their opinion, what additional resource or support are needed for law enforcement to their efforts to combating in human trafficking as well? And the next slide is where 3 respondents have agreed to interview with the aim of providing responses to my research question, which I had interviewed them through online, and the data in this collection section has been collected. And in my role as a researcher, I agree with their point of view for my 5 questions. Being interviewed, both the police officer and the lawyer have provided profound insight into the challenges faced by the government, enforcement, and NGOs to combat trafficking as modern form slavery among homeless kids. So moving to the next slide, which is the recommendation and conclusion. In addressing human trafficking among homeless children in Malaysia, overcoming their legal and complexities and procedural, and also this research has stated about unified efforts and steadfast commitments, which makes Malaysia can forge a future where every children can thrive free from exploitation and operation as well. The recommendation, the first recommendation I would say is from legally perspective, to enhance legal framework by using Etipsom Act 2007, which is Anti-Person Act and Anti-Smuggling Migrant Act, to enhance the legal framework on that or relevant provisions to prevent human trafficking cases among homeless kids, to reduce it in the futures, and to interagency collaboration from NGOs, and to make every year or every month a program with them to sit down and talk, to discuss about how to overcome these issues. The third thing is monitoring, evaluation, and also the fourth is interagency collaboration. The second recommendation generally, I would say, data collection and research from each NGO is important to prevent human trafficking. The second one is public awareness and education, such as their programs, conducting programs in each and every neighborhood is very important, which prevents human trafficking as well. Support services in each neighborhood, like whenever there's a human trafficking happen, they no need to travel to enforcement places such as the Balai or anything, but there's a support services in their staying place itself to contact them, and empowerment programs, and also such as empowering the community to give ideas on how to state their problems and what kind of situation they went through. Next slide, please. So that's all from me. Thank you so much. Before I end my research, I would like to say, if this research is a very helpful research, because this human trafficking is happening is happening. Sorry, because my laptop shut down already. But this human trafficking has been happening even now while I'm presenting here. It's been happening in our borders. But if we never prevent or community never join together to solve it, Malaysia would face a lot of struggle in future days. And also, if you see my slide, today it's happening for someone else. Tomorrow it can happen in our house as well. So thank you. That's all from me.